Welcome, everyone, to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks so much, Pete. I can't believe how long it's been since we've done news, and we've got a special guest for news today.
Yes. Very excited to have my good friend and an executive in this space that I respect highly, Brad Collins, the CFO of Data Scale HR. So welcome, Brad.
Hey, thank you, Julie and Pete. Huge fan of the pod, as you know, and I've been looking forward to this. So thanks for having me on.
Same here.
Yeah. I would love to get your opinions on some of these things, and because I know you do a lot of sleuthing around the industry and staying close to what's growing and what's new. So I'm excited to get into it. We got a lot here to get into, and I saw some great data this week. I don't know if you guys saw it. I wish I would have brought it. I think investments in the space are hitting some returning to some of their records that it was a few years ago. Things get kind of stalled a little bit. So looks like work tech related investments are really peaking back up. And that's always exciting, right? There's a lot of cool stuff being built out there.
All right, get us kicked off, Pete. You always are. You're so good at kind of having the bulleted list of things that are going on from time to time. So
yeah, we're going to be all over the place here today.
Right.
We're going to be talking a little bit of HCM, a little bit of payroll, a little bit of fintech. We've got some EOR, so we got a lot to do. So let's get started, right? So one of the key announcements that's recently happened was the acquisition of WalkMe by SAP. So big shout out to Dan Adika and his team at WalkMe. I've been working with those guys for at least 5 years, tracking them, staying in close to them, and had the opportunity to go to their event in New York City in May. And so I think this is huge, man. It valued them, I think, at $1.5 billion, which is really impressive. And if you're not familiar with WalkMe, they are a digital adoption platform. I would say they might have somewhat even created the category, right? And what they do is they are. I'm probably gonna undersell this, but think of it as almost like an overlay over anything that you are leveraging in your workplace or anywhere, right? Any sort of software. You think about we've seen statistics on how many solutions people are having to work with in the workplace, right? It's like an average of 15, I think. So these guys can come in and lay on that, and really, if you ever look at the way their solution works, it actually spotlights. In the moment, kind of shades the rest of the screen and takes you exactly to where you need to click at any given point in any process or any sort of application. So when you think about all of the things we're throwing at employees and we're throwing in the workplace, it's confusing, right? And we've got a lot of different generations that have different attachments to technology. So I think that just the digital adoption capability here is going to be really, really helpful. And I'm excited to see what SAP is going to do with it. I think it's going to hopefully play a good role over in success factors. And I think it's going to be a really interesting differentiator for their solutions. So yeah, really cool stuff there.
Hey, Pete, so tell me, digital adoption, you're describing that as a separate category, and yet I think a lot of folks might listen to the description of what WalkMe does and think, okay, another experience and engagement platform.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? But what they actually do is, I would say it goes a bit deeper, right? It's not so much about that. It's more about, and I'm actually going to read this direct from their, just to quote them, right? DAP works on top of an organization's application landscape and detects where people encounter friction and provides tailored support and automation they need to complete the job done, to get the job done right in the flow of work. So in other words, it's almost really a learning solution if you think about it in some ways, right? It's teaching you where to go to get the right answer and the right click for what you're trying to accomplish. So if you think about it, it's almost like someone moving the mouse for you, holding your hand and kind of taking you to where to go. And I think that's huge, right? Because you think about, you're right. There's so many platforms and experiences. This is really going to be able to give people the ability to make them experts at a solution without having to be. So like training wheels in some ways, I think. So
cool. Thank you for that.
I thought it was interesting to find out. I don't know if you guys know this or not. When I went to the Cornerstone event, Cornerstone On Demand, they actually own a digital adoption platform solution as well. They had acquired one a while back. And we were talking about just the capability that could, or the unique capability that could provide when you think about all the learning capabilities that they offer, that sort of nestles in nicely in their offering. So I think you're going to see more of this, especially when one of the things WalkMe was talking about was like, just take, for example, maybe Brad, this is going to be really right up your alley here. I think, take for example, AI, right? Like right
Yep.
now, when you use Copilot, and I've seen you tweet about it, so I know you do. We don't all prompt the same, right? We don't all have the same skill level at prompting. So one of the things that I know WalkMe has is sort of pre-configured prompts that make everyone sort of a AI expert, right? So that you're not having to go in there and recreate a prompt for something a use case that someone else may have already solved. So I think that's really cool, right? To kind of augment people as we get better and better with AI and more skilled. So yeah, lots of opportunity here for transformation.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, I was looking at that too on the WalkMe website. They have a specifically use cases around adopting AI, and so I mean, look, it's well positioned in the market today, right? I mean, automating workflows, adopting AI, digitization in general, right, are key themes, and so I mean, this is really great addition for SAP's business transformation business.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, and Julie, you think about like transformation. You're putting in these solutions. You're spending a lot of money on these capabilities, and oftentimes sometimes they are underwhelming if people can't use them effectively. So I think WalkMe is giving people the ability to maximize their effectiveness of their people in these new environments and with these systems. So
just what we needed,
yeah,
right?
it makes sense to go to an enterprise.
We
place.
just totally needed another category of HR tech.
Agreed. Agreed. But look, it's been here a while. It's not really new now. It's new by them. But if you think about just all of this, right? I mean, we have so much getting thrown at us now. It is a lot, and I think it is going to be important that companies get the most out of those solutions, and I think that's what WalkMe is really about. So
awesome.
I'm excited for them.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next. I think we've alluded to Chime and our friend Jason Lee at Salt Labs, but I think is that next on your list?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just a shout out. I think this news has been out there for a minute. I guess it's the end of June, but basically Chime snapped up Salt Labs. So that was quick, right? Jason just launched that last year. We did a podcast with him. So I'm excited, right? And if you're not familiar with Salt Labs was founded by Jason Lee, the former founder, and well, I guess he is still the founder of Daily Pay, who obviously is in the earned wage access business. But Salt Labs' approach is about pushing equity down to frontline workers and pushing more reward and engagement down to them through that. And so I think so when you think about it, you can imagine the frontline worker is often sort of left out of those conversations when it comes to to equity and that sort of thing. And I think what they're taking an approach here of that I think is pretty interesting is they're using sort of think an air miles. Sky miles, kind of frequent flyers sort of a thing where you're earning as you go based on things that you're doing already. And in this case, it's employees working. And the goal here is to really try and bring together that capability of employees to be rewarded more for the work that they're doing, but also maybe give them something equitable to leverage out of that reward. So I think it's exciting, right? Fintech's really cool. I think it's a great equalizer for access to money. And I just love what Jason's trying to do here. And I think Chime's probably a great home to nurture all that.
Yeah. Can't wait to see where they go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, Brad, I don't know if you know this, but Jason was telling me right before this, they had added to their board of Salt Labs. I had dinner with them out in Nashville at the Payroll org when we were there, Julie. They were telling me that they added this gentleman, and I don't remember his name, but he's actually the inventor, if I'm not mistaken, of 401k.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And
Wow.
I can't remember what they called 401k back in the day. It's very counterintuitive. I'm forgetting now. But that's the kind of folks that are working, the minds that are working with Jason on this. So I think there's a lot of promise here, a lot of excitement.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm with you. I what I like is it's interesting to see a large fintech like Chime moving into this employee rewards space, right? I mean, Chime's a big player. They have a lot of funding, so they'll be able to, help them take this to a whole nother level and reach, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and didn't they make a bid? If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't they the ones that bid on tried to buy Daily Pay? If I'm not mistaken, do you remember that?
I do. I
I think
forgot
they did
about that, but yes, they did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so interesting, but we'll see what's happening. What happens with that. I hope to see them. I hope to see them nurture this, and I think they will. I think it fits really nicely with what Chime's doing. So
I got to
yeah.
tell you, employers are doing more in this space as well. So I've been working with no less than 3 clients in just the recent probably 4 or 5 months who are interested in taking a fresh look at the rewards and recognition space. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of there's definitely some tailwinds behind rethinking what's going on in that space that dovetails with everything that's happening in benefits with voluntary and navigation and just kind of some wellness sorts of things. So it's become quite an active conversation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that gentleman by the name is Ted Benna. He was the sort of considered the father of the 401k concept. So really, really cool. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our good friends over at Workday. I was excited to see the Salesforce strategic partnership get highlighted yesterday, or this week, I should say, where Workday and Salesforce are going to get deeper together. They're already very, very intimate partners. Workday is, or Salesforce is a Workday shop. They use it. It's very public information. They use it for both HCM and finance. Look, who doesn't use Salesforce in their business if they're of any size? I think everywhere I've worked in the last 10 years had Salesforce. It's just out there, right? It's everywhere. And so this makes total sense. And what they're doing is really, I would say, bringing their integrations closer together, but also bringing together their AI. And that's going to deliver a lot more personalized, contextual AI solutions for the employee, right? So around onboarding, maybe health benefits, decision making, career development, any of that's interchangeable back and forth between Salesforce and their day to day. And I also think it's interesting too that they're bringing together obviously a common data foundation that'll unify all their information with their HR and finance data with CRM data. So really interesting to see what happens here. And of course, they're also going to be integrating into that Slack and giving deeper automation for employees to be able to collaborate around all of those things. So I think this totally makes sense, and I think it's just another step in that marriage, right? They're just going a little bit further together.
So Pete, just from a practitioner lens, the first
Yeah,
thing when you were talking about the types of things that they'll be partnering on and looking at, it's impossible not to think about it through the lens of, okay, so Workday has journeys. How does the AI powered assistant for different use cases differ from using journeys, right? Or as they're unifying the HCM or the CRM data, and like in Workday has the help module, and so will they be integrally tied to each other so that you need to have one in order to tap into the power of their combination, or do these become employer choices, and exactly how they're going to use Workday versus the partnership versus other third party tools and partners, right?
Hey, it's Bob Pulver, host to podcast. Human-centric AI, AI-driven transformation, hiring for skills and potential, dynamic workforce ecosystems, responsible innovation. These are some of the themes my expert guests and I chat about, and we certainly geek out on the details. Nothing too technical. I hope you check it out.
It just makes everything is very complex in this space as far as piecing all the technology and service delivery together, and I can see where this will be another layer of cool benefit, but also some depth of understanding that your average practitioner or HR leader won't have.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We haven't had a briefing on this yet, and I'm hoping to get more information. But that's an excellent point. I think I actually think this is sort of a step towards the orchestration sort of theme that we talk about, right? Not everything is in the HCM. Not everything is in the finance system. Not everything is in the payroll system, right? You have to often use multiple tools that are necessary to do other processes that aren't focused purely on or directly HR or finance, right? So I think that's where you're seeing these sort of HR systems and systems of work kind of brought closer together with the systems that are business operations, right? And maybe that's some of this here is bridging that and bringing more of an orchestration to other systems talking to each other. So yeah, no, good, great question, right? I mean, I'm curious too, like how is this going to work? Is there any sort of an added skew to this? I've got a lot of things I want to find out. So we'll hopefully get an update here pretty soon from Workday. But what do you think, Brad? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of shared Julie's thoughts. It's yeah, a lot to digest there, but yeah, to your point on the orchestration, I mean, there's so many different components of Salesforce, right? They have a one of their business units, MuleSoft, right, which really helps to orchestrate and make sure you can get data to the right systems around your organization. So, assuming large enterprises can put these two systems together, there's probably a lot you can do with it in terms of orchestrating data across the various systems you use. And the other piece that I really liked is the Slack integration. As we know, that's a primary place people like to work. And so if they can put more of these workflows and things like that into Slack, it's better for the worker experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I find Slack seems to be getting really deep everywhere. It must be the
Oh
go-to
yeah.
for most. So, yeah, no, I love it. I think these are the things you're going to see more of, right? Workday's talked about getting deeper with partners, doing more collaboration and co-innovation with their partners, especially even in we've talked a lot about the payroll stuff. So yeah, lots going on here. I think this is just, and I was sort of opining, how much of this might have been born out of the use cases both organizations using each other's products so intimately wanted for their own
That's right.
employees, right? So I have to believe there's been some beta here. I know there has, and I'd love to just get the details on how they kind of came with that and what the roadmap's going to look like for that, because I think there's a lot of use cases you could find between, depending upon how a company is using Salesforce and the Workday and HCM and finance modules. So.
Right. Hey, and we're not
Yeah.
done talking about our friends at Workday, are you?
No. I wanted to, I saw that they did, I don't know if you saw this, but late June, they had a very large, they've listed it as a prominent U.S. federal agency with an international mission and global workforce has gone live on the Workday government cloud. So if you know what Workday has been doing in the last, I'd say a couple of years here, they've really been prepping themselves for the federal space, the government space. And that is a tricky world. And it's somewhere where I know they've done well with the education sector. I know there are smaller government agencies around the country, state and locals that have it. But this is a big push for them, I think. And it sort of shows all the efforts that they've put into, getting certified as a contractor. I can't remember what they call that. And then, of course, building out their SIs that can handle this. So this was something they
Yep.
did with groundswell. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this coming.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the FedRAMP certification.
That's right.
I mean, it's
Yep.
really hard to get. I mean, you have to, only a solution like a modern solution that's highly secure like that can go after that. So, I mean, you have to tick a lot of boxes to be a tier one government supplier. So unlocking that market for them is that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's got to help a lot with there were some notable early adopters of Workday that were government contractors in their own right, and
Yeah.
there was always some noise there just because it is not an easy nut to crack. And so I'm sure they've learned over the years and had great opportunity just to pull that all together and figure out how to actually make that work better, scale better, be less noisy, and be more successful.
Yeah, and get into competition with their peers,
Yeah,
right? SAP
yeah.
and Oracle, who are already probably doing quite
Yep.
well there, I would say. And yeah, I had the pleasure of talking to, I think it was the FBI out in California, about how they've approached their stack, if you will. Now, they couldn't tell me a lot about it, as you can imagine, but what I understood from it was it is a mix of commercial and proprietary solutions. They did use, I think they did tell me they use a commercial core HR system, but then maybe some other proprietary things. And interestingly, a mix of public and private cloud. So that's another thing I think has always been sort of tricky with the government folks, right? Is the cloud sort of infrastructure and how that works for security and all that stuff. So yeah, this is tricky stuff. So I'm excited to see what they do. And I think it's going to be good for their partners as well. So, all right, moving on. Let's talk Dayforce. You guys, and we're by the way, I think next week the analysts have an update on global payroll. So I think we're going to get a little bit more there. But I do know they launched, they've now launched into Singapore. So there's a native Dayforce engine for Singapore. And I cannot recall how many they're up to now, depending upon how you count them, between what they've done natively and what they've done acquired through Atom, Ascender, and Excelity. So yeah, they're forging right ahead, right? Just continuing on in their path to world dominance and building out their native engines.
Well,
so,
and just remember, it's as important, if not more important, too, which ones are native Dayforce versus which ones are through their even their acquired partner network, because it just the nature of the beast. The delivery model works a little bit differently, right? When you start talking about anybody's product across the globe.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
great point, Julie, because I was, when I saw the news, I was wondering the same thing, right? Because they acquired Excelity, like 4 years ago, right? Which was a Singapore engine, right? So they must have been working on this native engine since then, and just kind of goes to show you how long these types of things can take, right?
Yep, great point, Brad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember one time David Ossip told us it takes them about 18 months to prepare a native engine. And I want to say they're in the dozens at this point, if you count the ones they've built themselves. Now, I'm sure you could, now that they've probably, they have replatformed the other items from the other solutions they bought. But either way, I think they've done a really, really good job with their data model, the way they've set their data model up and the structure. And they were always very rich and strong on that core side, right? What I would say core HR, payroll, time, and it certainly benefits. And I think they've really bolstered that, and their global ambitions are quite aggressive,
right.
and they've stuck to it. So the other thing I thought was cool, and Brad, I don't know if you saw this, but we got to check out Dayforce Flex Work, which is really a marketplace platform for managing gig workers and managing flex scheduling and that sort of thing. And I think it's really interesting. Nice pairing, right? Beautiful pairing with that global payroll capability. So, yeah. With the increase in contingent workers, for many, many reasons, right? Skills, all kinds of reasons, agility. I think it's perfectly timed, maybe a little bit overdue, but I love it. And I think that's just a perfect, just a perfect way for people to curate their talent pools and ultimately pay them right in platform. So
I was just going to say, some of the key to that for me is just going to be, is that targeting, smaller and growing to scale first, or is it really built, robust and complex for scale, and then it becomes a challenge to start out down market, right? I mean, there's just no way to build it both ways, usually right from the get-go. So I'll be anxious to see.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Brad?
Agreed.
Sorry.
I'm a huge fan of unlocking the contingent workforce and the concept of total talent, bringing these together. And, Workday's acquisition of Vindley was obviously a major step in this direction as well. So it's good to see Dayforce launching something here. It's just great to see the solutions coming together to make it easier for clients to basically tap into any type of talent.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, and that's the goal here, right? I think it's an on-demand marketplace. But what I also would add is that it also supports background checks, onboarding, and payroll, right? So you've got kind of that one-stop shop, which I think is really, really cool, which most of the EORs are trying to build towards as well, right? So it's kind of like
That's right.
HCM coming the other way, So I love it.
That's right.
All right, so let's stay in that world, right? We'll stay in the global world. Globalization Partners has introduced some more AI. I know you know them well, Brad. They've brought a bit more AI-powered onboarding into their compliance capabilities, and also more contextual compliance insights in real time. So again, just really trying to support. I think what I see a lot of the EORs doing is this, right? Really trying to help people make really effective decision making at the hiring point, at the onboarding point. A lot of modeling is being provided, a lot of what if scenarios, giving people the ability to figure out what makes the most sense in their hiring decisions. So I think this is, makes total sense.
Yeah, I watched the video on it. It looked really solid, and it's interesting because going back to the beginning of our discussion on what WalkMe is doing, I mean, they've effectively layered in functionality like WalkMe to their onboarding experience, and so I think these players like Globalization Partners and some of the others that have been around for a while, like they're in a great position to leverage Gen AI for these use cases. They have a lot of knowledge that they've put together over a decade or more, right? So it's a really smart use case for AI in the workflow.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, I think there's a huge value in not just the risk avoidance of EOR and the speed and agility and all that, but the data and insight, you're right, that they have, and just the ability to help you make good decisions about the future of your business in that country or operating around those regions is just great. And the more that they can bubble that up and give you the chance to act on that in the flow, I think is what they're going for here.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty, so let's stay in the EOR world, man. Deel, God, they're savages, right? Like, I swear, I love these guys, man. Every time I turn around, there's just a pile of new updates coming from them, and it just does not stop. So recently, obviously, the big news was they bought their partner, Hofi, I can't remember how you say that, which is going to give them the ability to round out their offering with some IT provisioning services. Hofi and Deel were already working together. They were key partners, as it were. So that's now the second acquisition in maybe 4 months or so, right? They bought Zavy, the learning and development solution. So lots going on at Deel, man. And just, AI everywhere coming about. They've got a new policy advisory board. They've launched now physical Deel cards, pay Visa and MasterCard backed cards in 20 different countries. Of course, we've got the PaySpace acquisition that happened. Just so much going on over at Deel, man. It's definitely turning heads, I think.
Capital investment,
Yeah.
Case study.
Yeah.
In point.
Brad, what would you want to opine on what you think their valuation is now? What were they at? About 13 billion, I think, at the end of 23 or so, around 23.
Looking for the inside scoop on payroll? Whether you're a payroll pro or just curious about your paycheck, we've got two podcasts you cannot miss. It's About Payroll delivers the latest trends for payroll pros, and It's About Your Paycheck is here for employees, breaking down pay and rights in simple terms. Two great shows, two great hosts, and endless insights to keep you informed and empowered. Subscribe now and elevate your payroll knowledge. Brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets people.
Hi there, I'm Peter Zollman. I'm a co-host of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast.
And I'm Stephen Rothberg, and I guess that makes me the other co-host.
Every other week, we're joined by guests from the world's leading job sites.
Together, we analyze news about general, niche, and aggregator job board and recruitment marketplaces sites.
Make sure you sign up and subscribe today.
Like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, they are obviously unflinching in their strategy and not afraid to move fast, which is as a former M&A person, it's fun for me to watch that. They make really smart buy versus build decisions, right? PaySpace giving them some payroll engines, PayGroup, right, which was I think last year also payroll engines, and then Zavy getting them more into the core HR. So they're building out a lot of components internally, but they're also, using M&A in a smart way to build out their global HCM capabilities. So I like it a lot. In terms of the valuation, it's tough. I'm actually kind of mixed on the payroll engines specifically. So like, how much value does a PaySpace add to the enterprise value of Deel? I don't know. That acquisition was reported to be around $100 million, and the Hofi acquisition was reported to be around $100 million. So, relatively small compared to Deel's own valuation, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually today pick up shares of Deel on the secondary market for lower valuations than their last.
Oh, really?
Primary deal. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, look, I like what they're doing, man. I think someone had to start innovating and leading in this sector, right? I just feel like there was a lot of so what with the tech that was out there. And I think Deel is being very aggressive. I kind of wonder, do you think an EOR can get too big? Is that does it become unwieldy just given the levity of what you have to really manage? I don't know.
I don't
How
think
much scale
so.
is too much scale, right?
No, I think, look, realistically, especially with Hofi, look, I used to see this was a big ask for clients, right? When they're hiring people in other markets, you would be surprised how hard it is to get a computer to a worker in just Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And so if you could make that a really good experience for clients as they're onboarding, it's not the EOR per se, but it's all the stuff that goes around it, the peripheral components, and there's a lot of stuff around it. Yeah, I like it. I like their kind of global HCM strategy for SMBs. There's really, I mean, few players that are out there that have that, where you could go as a 100-person company and have Deel be your one-stop shop for everything, right?
Yeah,
HR.
agreed.
I see a little, as usual, my lens usually reflects some of the confusion for buyers in the market. And, are you an EOR? You're picking up some global payroll engines, folks already
Yeah.
don't understand many times what kind of the difference is in those two models. And then when you just kind of try to play, seamlessly across them, that there's so much potential for increased confusion and it's great to have your logo top of mind, but top of mind and not exactly sure in what capacity or which competitors, because you don't know exactly where you're focused is. I don't know if you guys are seeing that as problematic, but
Well, maybe I could take this because in full disclosure, Deel is an advisory client of mine, and I can tell you they are aggressively attacking the global payroll
Yeah.
space, and they 100% expect to come up market with that. Pay space was a big part of that. And so, when you think about it, I just went through this with one of my HCM clients who's looking at their strategic go-to-market for global capability. And one of the things that was key to them was providers that can provide both a native EOR and global payroll capability. And when you ask for that, there's very few that are left on the table. Very few, right? You're talking maybe Deel, possibly Remote. Remote's trying to build it. Neoma already has it. They just switched on EOR. Pretty much, they already had an EOR. They just weren't doing it. They turned that on right on top of what they were doing. So there's not a lot of folks that can really claim to be able to do both. And so I think this is where they want to go. And I think what they see is the opportunity to be that one-stop shop so that they can keep people in their walls, and there's not that loss of organizations as they develop and grow. So
yeah, the danger is being able to do it well and also being able to differentiate it. So there is some clarity in what you're getting and when, and
agreed.
Yeah, it's tricky business.
Yeah.
Let's just say, right?
It is. That's what I was just kind of saying. Is there a way to get too big in this space? Maybe,
Yeah, that's a good point, Julie, because especially with PaySpace and their strategy for global payroll, which is really selling up market, right? The rest of the portfolio that they have is largely geared towards SMBs. So,
right.
How will they kind of manage that with the different sort of types of buyers going forward? That'll be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think PayAsia was before PaySpace, right? And so I don't know if am I right, or do I have
That's
the wrong?
right.
Yeah, so I think they might have been a little bit upwards of SMB, and to be honest, there's been so much else that they're tackling. I'm really not sure, how they've walked that line, in going up market and swimming up market. But maybe that would be a place to look because they've had them for a couple of years now, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not going to be, I don't think they're going to get pulled up market overnight, but I do believe they are, or I know they are, aiming for that eventually. So that I think that will gradually happen, but you're going to have to get quals, right? And I've given that feedback before. Like, any of you in the EOR space that are trying to crawl up market, you're going to have to show that you can handle these types of customers, right? Volume and complexity. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, we'll see.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I will say, Julie, you're right. Like on the PayAsia pay group, I mean, even for the quals, Pete, like they've started to repurpose the qualifications from pay group and PaySpace into Deel quals, right? And so they're very, very smart on the marketing of that.
Yeah, and keep in mind, look, PaySpace was an existing Workday partner. So guess what? Deel is now one of the only pure play EORs that, or original pure play EORs that actually has a Workday integration and is sitting inside their walls, right? So, or their partner ecosystem. So, sky's the limit here. I think it's gonna be exciting.
Again, I think the message is there's a lot of navigation and a lot of inside ball in these, in some of that becomes part and parcel of some of these providers, and it's very hard to know and stay on top of it all.
Yeah. Agreed. So just before we leave EOR, Brad, thoughts on any IPOs next year? You think we'll see a couple? I think we could. Maybe even the year after. At least after the election, of course.
No, don't worry about compromising anything, Brad. Just spit it all out.
No, you don't have to say names, but do you think you will see some IPOs next year?
I wish I had the crystal ball. I mean, it's I mean, it's definitely possible you see a company like Deel. I mean, look, I know they were sitting on a lot of cash from the last capital raises, and that they're reported to be profitable. But no, they've done a couple of acquisitions here that have each been $100 million, and if those were largely cash, like, they'd have a good reason for going out to the IPO market for financing. So. Yeah, it's potentially you see them. There's obviously others that are at the scale, we'll say, above 100 million of ARR that makes
Yeah,
sense that they
like a
could go
GP
out.
maybe.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
GP would fit that, and there's some others that are getting up there, but I would say Deal and Rippling being the two that have
yeah.
the most scale, right, for that.
Yeah, and I think that Hofi acquisition. I hope I'm saying that right. Hofi. I think that's a bit of a counter as well to what Rippling was doing, also, right? Because they had that same sort of capability. So I think that gives them some defense against that too, and adds more
Yeah.
value, right, for their customers. So yeah,
Yep.
very good,
Yeah.
very good. All right, let's move on into global payroll. Julie, last week we had an update from the new brand over at what we were calling Newco, the spinoff of Alight. It is now going to be Strada Global.
We
So
did.
congratulations
Strata,
to those
right?
guys.
Strata, like I think it's
Strada or Strata?
Strata
Am I
with a
getting it wrong?
T.
Strada,
Yep.
excuse me. Woo! Hold on, I messed that up. Strada Global. Strada
Strata,
Global.
Italian for path or road, right?
Yeah. So look, it's exciting, right? I actually think we've talked about this a little bit, but they found a new home. I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't think Alight ever cared or even understood that business that NGA had, and the really the rich industry leading capabilities that they had. From a global payroll perspective, from an SI perspective, the Workday practice. I mean, just all of it, right?
Well,
So
this is the
I
chance,
think,
right? I mean,
yeah, this
this
is the
is
chance. New start,
yeah.
new owner, maybe some new investment. We'll see, and I'm hoping that they're going to do well.
Yeah,
So
time to shine.
congrats to
Hey,
them.
I have some fun, fun facts around the name because I've been poking a little bit around that, and there were multiple rumors before it was announced that they'd done a little bit of gamification with the colleagues, and trying to get folks
Yeah,
inside of the company to guess or get kind of just involved and enthusiastic about that, and leaked out some clues little by little to see if anybody
yeah,
could imagine it. And then just even the color, whenever a new brand comes out, it's intriguing, right? People want to know
yes,
what's the inside around that. And going with the green, just being less busy when you think about all the competitors that are out there. I know that
yes,
was a consideration. It also seemed to embody some of these. They had buckets behind the scenes of kind of major categories or associations that they wanted to make with a new entity, like harmony or human centricity and guidance and growth. And they just like they really felt like they checked multiple buckets, not only with a logo showing kind of motion, but also with the green color palette, where nobody really owns that today in the payroll space. Is
yeah,
amazing because money green, right? Who wouldn't think that would be a great color palette to be using. And no specific implications around ESG were baked into that, at least per my sources, right?
yeah. I don't know,
I'm thinking more
but
money green.
Yeah, no, yeah. Congrats to Jordana
Yeah,
Sherman,
yeah.
who's over there, coming over from the legacy company, and been there forever. I think a long time, and she's helped lead some of that marketing. So they did a great job with that new branding. It is a very rich green, isn't it? Very
It
money like.
is.
But I think it's important to note. One of the things I asked on the call was what happens with work life, right? The technology. How does all that work? Well, all of the proprietary tech is going with them. All of the capabilities in terms of their SI, their Workday practice, their Oracle practice, and of course, they also have capability with Cornerstone and I believe UKG. And I think they could do Oracle if they wanted. They don't normally lean into it too much. But more importantly, I think it's important to point out that not just the SI, but the managed services and including the benefits administration for Workday, and I would assume SAP as well. So the very advanced DB, DC stuff and 401k stays behind at Alight. But the Workday practice entirely goes with them, and so does their managed services. So that's to me, that's all the best parts of Alight.
Yeah.
and it's a really formidable capability that's 30 plus years old in experience.
That's right.
So,
And as you
yeah.
might imagine, given where Heron Palmer and our company sits on both benefit sides and then the HR and
Yeah.
payroll side, we're working with a lot of large clients right now who are trying to understand how some of those things are split and also doing some of their contract assignments and those sorts of things. And so, folks, regular listeners might know I blogged about that back in April with quite a bit of detail around some of the split. So maybe we can repost that with this episode. And anybody who needs a little bit more drill down, I'm actively working more than a handful of clients right now through the nuances. So, just reach out. And
hi, we're Meg and Amy from The Meg and Amy Show.
We're not only tech execs and big picture thinkers, we're also best friends.
We're curious learners. And on this podcast, we're challenging the status quo and activating the future.
And we're going to give advice about work and leadership, right, Meg?
We can't help ourselves. But this podcast is about exploring possibility, not being right.
That sounds refreshing.
For more, tune in to The Meg and Amy Show.
let me know, and I'm more than happy.
Yeah, that's right. Let me send me that link. Let's make sure we get it in the description.
Sure.
And we're going to have Frank Leisner, one of their executive VPs, coming on to talk about. Actually, we're going to extend our conversation from the Payroll Org executive conference that we did, executive summit. Maybe we can ask some questions about Strada and just see what they're doing. When he's on. So I'm excited to have him next episode.
For sure.
Actually,
Coming up
so
very quickly.
look for that soon. Yeah, very cool. All right, last couple here we've got. Interestingly, I saw that last week Papaya Global launched a new payroll and payments academy, and I think that has something like 50 or so. I can't remember how many it was. Quite a few learning modules that are in there that are going to be designed to help the practitioner learn, or their leader understand and learn payroll operations, right? Payroll performance, payroll management, if you will. So really interesting, right? There's now some investment coming in by vendors to help people educate themselves, because it is complex and it is challenging, and there's a lot of nuances to this. So I think that's kind of cool. Obviously, I would say it's probably a marketing thing as well, but certainly unique, right? Something new and different in the marketplace where they're trying to make a connection.
This one's interesting to me, Pete, because I don't know if you recall, but I had a UK client mostly last year, large parts of last year, that was deploying Papaya Global along with a payroll delivery, one of the accounting firms, right, that was doing some of the services. But many folks might not know there's a couple of different ways that Papaya Global can solution that with or without the underlying services. And so I haven't had a chance yet to poke around in their Payroll and Payments Academy, but it'll be interesting to see how they've addressed the learning that somebody who's mostly tapping into them as that middle, I don't want to say middleware, that's a horrible sounding name, but as the tool, that the glue that hangs it all together, versus maybe a more robust delivery model, and how do they care for that in their academy materials. So stay tuned, because I'll be looking in to that and trying to find out just how they decided to approach that.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll integrate any of that into their platform too, like learning in the flow kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of that going on. I know obviously Cornerstone's heavy into that, and most of the HCMs are offering some sort of capability like that in their learning.
Yeah, well, step one, right? I mean,
modules.
Like, you have to have it before you can incorporate it. So
gotta have the content. Yeah, that's
Crawl,
the
walk,
key thing,
run.
right? That's exactly why Cornerstone bought Grovo years ago, right? To get that media capability to develop their content, because content is king. When you think about, there's plenty of platforms, but who's got the actual stuff to digest through it? So I think it's a good thing, right? I mean, this stuff is hard, man, and there's plenty of places to get education, but it's great when you can get it in micro form and you can catch it, kind of YouTube style, and I love that about this. So yeah, it's good stuff. Okay. We got one more here I wanted to talk about. I had a nice briefing from the team over at Zealous. And if you don't know who Zealous is, they are what I would say the amalgamation of MorePay, as well as the Zealous products. And if you recall MorePay was a down market SMB solution that Northgate Orinso spun off prior to them being acquired by Alight back in, 2018, 19, something like that. They also dropped the Africa and the Australian capabilities that went to Preceda. So that all, I think, ended up at Ascender, what was ultimately Ascender. So if you think about it, Zealous is somewhat of an amalgam of those two. The MorePay capabilities, the Zealous capabilities they already had, which is more. So it was like MorePay is sort of the down market capability they have for UK and Ireland. Zealous is more of a 1K and above. They do actually have customers of up to 300,000 employees on that solution. And then, Julie, you'll remember this. They also acquired Benefex.
That's right.
Do you remember
Yes,
Benefex?
Absolutely. We see them a lot on the global total rewards stage.
Yes. Yeah. So that's really what you're talking when you're talking Zealous here. Really a rich, payroll capability and benefits capability. And now they're pushing a little bit further into HCM and core HR with the launch of Zealous HCM Air, a very AI driven. It's actually built on Azure. Public cloud, and they are fundamentally working on some of their modules around things like performance, light performance management capability, some recruiting, and then of course they are looking at maybe even dipping their toe into the workforce management pieces and bringing that in.
So Pete, I was going to ask you, but I think you answered. I was going to ask if that forging into the HCM was more truly HCM or more like high bob engagement style stuff, and it is actually more the functionality of an HCM platform.
It sounds like to me from the briefing and from what I can tell, they are serious about it. They're really trying to, I think, support that smaller mid-market business, probably mostly in that UK and Ireland space where there's plenty of runway, just like the US, and being able to obviously lead with a very heavy payroll compliance capability, but certainly now can turn on some light core HR type capabilities, HCM capabilities that are going to continue to proliferate. So I think you're going to see a nice offering here for them. This is good move, I think.
Are you hearing stuff, Brad? What are you hearing?
Yeah, what do you think, Brad?
No, I mean, I actually, look, I'm reading the release, and actually one of the things that I really like about what they've launched in there is specifically that intelligent payslip feature.
Yes.
You actually saw this. Deel, I think, did also a release similar to this recently with a payroll variance feature, and it's just a great piece of functionality. Like, it helps explain exactly why things are changing on the pay slip right to the worker.
Yes.
It has to alleviate, a massive amount of questions that payroll and HR folks get around payroll. And so it's a really, again, great use case for AI. And it was really, really neat to see that they've added that in as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's the future, right? Self-explaining pay slips. And in fact, actually, Ramco had that a few years ago. They launched something like that. I think they call it the self-explaining pay slip. And you're right? I mean, I don't know, as a payroll leader, I don't know how many calls I took back in the day of people who were, didn't understand their paycheck, right? And so that could have been probably a lot of time that my team and I spent, explaining those things. We could have used some help. So, I mean, it's complicated, man. And these things are getting harder to understand. I mean, you're with all the compliance that's coming, the paycheck is getting longer in detail, the check information, if you will, the payslip information. So, and not all of us are experts. We don't always know how to calculate those things and what applies where. And again, I think it lends itself to the transparency around the pay experience, right? You've really got to help people understand what you're doing with their money.
Yeah, we're also seeing table stakes, right? We're starting to see. I mean, in payroll, what are those AI enabled things that are quickly becoming table stakes, and and what is that beyond that innovation that is even being contemplated? So
yeah. Well, AI needs to make us more effective, right? Make us smarter and hopefully augment us. And why not? Why shouldn't that be for the employee just as much as it should be for the business owner and business leaders? So, I mean, not most of us aren't payroll experts or HR experts, so we do need some help. And I think this is good stuff for it. So. All right. Well, look, that was a packed, I don't know what time we were at, but that was 45 minutes or so. That was a packed week. And I think I probably dropped a few things. I mean, we could have brought some other stuff in, but anything else you guys have? If not, let's maybe share where we're going to be and then we can kind of wrap it up. Anything else you guys got going on?
I got a couple of things going on. As you know, I do a lot of client work between the big conference seasons. So I'm deep in the throes of that. You heard me mention it around some of what's happening with the Alight and Strada. Separation is generating a lot of questions and activity in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the things I might have mentioned in our last recording, Pete, but it's hot off the press now is, we've been doing these micro surveys to try to get practitioner insights and just consumable bites out there in the market. And we just launched the compensation survey that we have out. It's 15 questions. You don't have to be, I should say compensation survey. That's horrible 2 words to put together because that has its own meaning in compensation, right? But it's a little 15 question practitioner. Tell us how your company approaches compensation strategy and some big decisions around rewards and pay and rewards. And I think that we have that link out there. So appreciate folks chiming in.
Yeah, I dropped it in the last episode. I will drop it in this one, and I shared that on LinkedIn. So if you haven't had a chance to put your info into that, please share. We'd love to. These PULS surveys are very important. Julie uses those. We share those out, and then we certainly, use them. I know you use them in your work, Julie, and we're able to point to things to help people make good decisions.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, jump in there and get your opinion out there. And
I want to know more about where Brad's going to be. I got a couple of little one-off things. They're small, but I'd rather know where Brad's going to be to see if we might be remotely in the same place anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mostly in Colorado these days, and I spend a lot of my most of my focus, like I kind of told you, was help supporting the growth at DataScale today. But for conference season, which is quickly coming up, I usually try to go to the SIA Contingent Workforce conference, and then I typically am at the HR Tech conference as well. So those are both on my radar here for the next few months.
Yeah,
cool, man. Well, good. And I want you to help me get Jerome Governal on the show. I want to talk AI and global payroll with him. I know he's got a lot of opinions that we've been trading on LinkedIn. I want to get him to talk that as well. But let's be sure to connect at HR Tech. I'll be there. Julie, you're definitely coming, right?
Usually there for sure. In fact, I got one before and one after HR Tech as well. So. But you know what? I've not done the SIA contingent workforce one, Brad. So I might reach out to you and get a little bit more insight. So we've been doing some workforce strategy work with folks that are looking more broadly across their contingent and gig workforces, which I think is increasingly important and almost a must-have, right? As we start to see workers bounce around between categories. And I don't think I've attended the SIA before.
Yeah, they do some good research. I haven't been to that either.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I'll say, just as as I spend a lot of my time in the employer of record space, the contingent workforce side of employer of record is also very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of, there's a lot of
huge growth,
kind of exciting. Yeah, huge growth. There's exciting things going there. There's a few innovative players like HireArt and Worksome, and then there was a big acquisition, I don't know, a month or two ago between two players in that space, Workwell and this company called Precision Global Consulting. They were US based, so you've seen some quite a bit of M&A over the years, mostly led by People 2.0, but there's a lot of new players in that sector of the market too, and so it's an area I stay pretty close to.
Hey, that could be a whole just a topic, right, that we tackle sometime in the future, because there is so much going on, and it is a different set of names and players, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's hyper growth, right? I mean, there's so much data on the fact that we're seeing more and more of the freelance employee or freelance skill set coming in, or skills coming by way of freelance workers that I just think you're going to see more and more of, right? It just makes total sense from an agility perspective, just from a richness of talent. That
or do we dare even say the workers that are trying to do both?
Yeah, well, most of the solutions will do both right now. Well, very good. Yeah. All right. Well, look, this has been really great, guys. Brad, I always appreciate having you on. I'd love to have you. Yeah, come back and talk contingent workers. Come back and talk anything, man. It's been really nice. And we got to get Jerome on here and talk about AI. And I'm excited, man. This is I think it's going to be. I'm excited for what we're going to see at HR Tech. I think sounds like a lot of firms are coming that haven't in the past that I know of.
Hey, Pete, we moved our format a bit. We used to do news at the beginning of each thing, but I think maybe if we just aim for a monthly news episode so folks can find it more readily, maybe that's the way to go. I know we've shifted that way, but I don't know if we've really ever called it out or said it.
That's a great point. Yeah, we are doing that now. If you guys haven't noticed, it got a little cumbersome having news up front and then a guest. It just felt like we were being sort of ignoring them in some way, and I just didn't like that. And I also just got weird. So I thought it was good if we just isolate it. And because what if the guest is like a competitor to some of the news? It was just weird. So I just thought it would be better if we isolate it, get into the news here. We can opine, and we don't normally have a guest, Brad. So I think you might be our first news guest. Yeah. Appreciate you coming, man. I know you're close to the market.
Yeah.
You do a lot of sleuthing around and keeping me up to date on some things that I don't catch. So yeah, great to have you, man. Really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. It's been fun, and I'll definitely come back anytime you'd like, and we'll get Jerome on here to chat more data scale HR with you as well.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Well, all right, everyone, take care, and we will talk to you next time.